Now coming to microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. What is microangiopathic hemolytic anemia? It is caused by abnormalities in the microvasculature. This is generally due to mechanical trauma to the RBCs in the circulation and is characterized by red cell fragmentation. Red cell fragmentation is known as cystocytosis. Fragmented red cells are called cystocytes. The process of fragmentation of red cell is known as cystocytosis. Now, there are three factors as to which microangiopathic hemolytic anemia can occur. Okay. So, before we go there, we need to understand a very important factor, that is the cystocytes. These cystocytes are also known as helmet cells or fragmented cells. They are fragmented part of the RBC. So, if you see, this is a normal RBC. If these RBCs take shape of a helmet or a triangle or a fragmented, so these are cystocytes. Okay, so what are the shapes we can see? They are usually irregular and have two pointed ends. These are your pointed ends. Okay, we'll have two or more than two pointed ends. Okay, so these can be coma shaped, it can be like this, or it can be helmet shaped, or it can be triangle shaped. Okay, microcytic and no central payload. So these cells are small compared to your RBCs. Okay, so these are microcytic, and you know, if you see an RBC, you will have the central pale area and the periphery is much darker. Here no central pallor is seen. Okay, and the lifespan is also reduced because these are abnormal RBCs. First coming to external impact. External impact. Direct external trauma to the RBCs when they pass through the microcirculation. Especially, what are these micro circulation? These are your, see, you have the artery, then you have the arterioles, then you have the capillaries. Okay, so these are your microcirculation. So in the capillaries, since they are so tiny and so branched, so these are called your microvasculature. Okay, so any direct external trauma to these small capillaries, especially over the bony prominences, may cause hemolysis during various activities like prolonged marches, like who do march past, joggers, karate players. These patients develop hemoglobinemia, that is hemoglobin in the blood, that is lot of heme in the blood. Then hemoglobinuria. Hemoglobinuria is also known as march hemoglobinuria. Why? Because it is seen in marches. So it's also known as march hemoglobinuria. So you see blood in the urine. And sometimes myoglobin is also excreted in urine. So it's known as myoglobinuria, which results due to damage of the muscles. Okay. So I have put a photo of marches. When do you see marches? During sports activity, when you have a march past going on, and most commonly during our Republic Day and Independence Day, when you see the programs where all the police officials, the army officials, they do the march passing. Continuous march passing, what can it cause is you can have mechanical injuries. These mechanical injuries are due to foot impact, muscle contraction and vasoconstriction. These direct injuries, along with any other pre-existing injuries. What are the pre-existing erythrocytic abnormalities? What you can have? You can have anemia, hemolysis or thalassemia. If you have those, in addition to the direct injury, what happens? All the RBCs will start fragmenting. Sorry, my printer ink got over and most of the red cells here look yellow, but in the original slide they are red in color. Okay, so most of these RBCs will break down, and when the RBCs break down, what you will have? You will have free hemoglobin. Okay, in the free hemoglobin you have the globin and heme. Okay, the heme portion is taken up by haptoglobins. So what happens? Heme and haptoglobin forms a complex. Wherever it forms a complex, the heme re-enters the body for recirculation. But sometimes when there's a lot of heme, you don't have that many haptoglobins. Okay, so what happens is, if you have heme and haptoglobin, this can be clarified. Okay, but sometimes what happens, you have a lot of heme but very less hemoglobin, very less haptoglobin is there. In those people you will have haptoglobins also in the urine. Okay, that is known as haptoglobinuria. Okay, now then you see joggers. Joggers will also show the same mechanical injuries or can have metabolic injuries. What are the metabolic injuries they can have? They can have hyperthermia, dehydration, hypotonic shock, hypoxia, lactic acidosis, shear stress, oxidative damages, proteolysis, catecholamines, and lysolecithin. So all these will enhance the osmotic fragility, will impair the membrane structure. There will be deformability of the membrane, and resistance of the membrane is also impaired. So in this what happens, again the same thing occurs. So in these people you can have mechanical injuries alone, you can have metabolic injuries alone, or you can have them together. Okay, due to prolonged cases, metabolic injuries will be there with mechanical injuries. Along both of these will cause the RBCs to break down into free hemoglobin, and for this free hemoglobin what will come? Your haptoglobin will come. Okay, this haptoglobin actively binds to all the heme. So what happens? The haptoglobin and the heme complexes are cleared and goes back into circulation, where the iron is again reabsorbed for erythropoiesis. But sometimes when you have lot of heme, you don't have that many haptoglobins. So what happens? These haptoglobins are also excreted in the urine. So that leads to haptoglobinuria. Now hemoglobinemia. Why hemoglobinemia occurs? Hemoglobinemia occurs because there is excess of hemoglobin in the blood plasma. Okay, so why this occurs is especially in extravascular and intravascular cases. Your RBC gets lysed, so you have free hemoglobin. In this free hemoglobin and haptoglobin can form a complex and go back into circulation. But sometimes what happens, there is so much free hemoglobin but not that much haptoglobin. So this is known as hemoglobinemia. Okay, and when this free hemoglobin, this blood with free hemoglobin enters the kidney, it excreted by the kidney is known as hemoglobinuria. Okay, so hemoglobinuria is the presence of hemoglobin in the blood. If haptoglobin is saturated, the hemoglobin dimers accumulate in the plasma. That leads to hemoglobinemia and pass through the glomerulus, where they are reabsorbed and degraded by the proximal tubule cells or excreted in the urine. So whatever is said, they have just written over here. When the haptoglobins are saturated, means they are bind to so many hemoglobin and no more can bind anymore. That time the free hemoglobin is left behind. In the blood is known as hemoglobinemia, and when this blood enters the kidney, it is excreted out as hemoglobinuria. Now cardiac hemolysis. A small portion of the patients who receive prosthetic cardiac valves or artificial grafts develop hemolysis. So what happens? Usually patients who have congestive cardiac failure or who have had multiple cardiac arrest, in these patients, because their valve is not working, we replace the valves. See, here a particular valve was not working, so they have replaced the valve by mechanical valve or a biological valve. So these are your artificial graft. So when we put these, either this or this, in this valve which was not working, this helps the heart to pump and refunction again. So sometimes especially because of mechanical heart valve, what happens, there is so much pressure through which the RBCs cross through, that due to this increased pressure, some of the RBCs can break down. Okay, so it has been attributed to direct mechanical trauma to RBCs or shear stress from turbulent blood flow. So what happens is, you see here we have put up a mechanical valve over here. So what happens, the blood is flowing. Sometimes when the blood is flowing at a very high speed, turbulent blood flow is happening, so the RBCs that are coming through this are under a lot of pressure, because mechanical valve means they cannot move, they are fixed. Okay, so because of this, so many RBCs are trying to get inside that they get damaged. So what happens, the RBCs again break down. So the RBCs will break down like this. So this is your mechanical stress, also known as cardiac hemolysis. Coming to fibrin deposits in the microvasculature. Deposition of fibrin in the microvasculature exposes the RBCs to physical obstruction and eventual fragmentation of the RBCs and trapping of the platelets. Fibrin deposits in the smaller vessels may occur in the following condition. What are the conditions where we see fibrin deposits are? Number one, abnormalities in the vessel wall. So if the vessel wall itself has some abnormalities, this can be due to hypertension in eclampsia. That is, eclampsia is hypertension in pregnancy is known as eclampsia. Disseminated cancers, transplant rejection, and hemangioma. Another point you can also see is in thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura, in hemolytic uremic syndrome, in disseminated intravascular coagulation, and vasculitis and collagen diseases. In these, the common mechanism that takes place is, see, now this is, see, I have drawn a blood vessel. Okay, so this is a blood vessel. In this blood vessel, what happens is, because of all these conditions, there can be some abnormalities to this blood vessel. So what happens is, you see, we have taken a blood vessel. In this blood vessel, the platelet starts aggregating. Why this aggregates? Because of some causes. Because of these causes, the platelets adhere to the RBC wall, to the blood vessel wall. So here what happens is, because the platelet has come, for example, an injury has occurred and platelets have started accumulating, the next step is, because of the platelet aggregation, you will have a clot formation. Okay, so the clot is formed. So once the clot is formed, next what happens is, your fibrin gets activated. So the fibrin and the platelet aggregates will form a mesh network. So a meshwork will be formed. Okay, here what will happen, you will have the fibrin fibers as well as all the platelet aggregates, that is known as clot. So next what will happen is, you see, when a RBC comes, you see, now this is the width, the breadth that is left, the circumference that is left. So initially, if you see, the RBC vessel was like this, the circumference was big. Now because of the fibrin and the platelet aggregates, there is so less space for the RBCs to cross. So you see, one cell can easily pass through, one RBC can easily pass through. But when so many, because of turbulent flow, so many RBCs coming, now this will hit the fibrin and will be sheared out. This shearing out is known as histiocytes. This is the altered blood RBCs that we are seeing. Okay, so this again is giving you a helmet type shape. So these look like helmet cells. Okay, so again what happens is, you see a blood vessel, because of any reason from these conditions, platelets will aggregate, will start accumulating on the wall of the blood vessel. So multiple platelets adhere, which is known as clot. Okay, this is the first hemostasis. Okay, then after this, fibrin fibers get activated, the fibrin and the platelet aggregates will form a meshwork, that is known as secondary hemostasis. Now once a single RBC can easily move, but when you have a turbulent flow, these RBCs will hit this and will shear out, and this is the schistocytes. Okay, now for example, there is an injury to the blood vessel wall. Here what happens is, because the vessel wall is broken, the RBCs will go out. So now because of this accident, platelets get activated. So the platelets will come and aggregate. This aggregated platelets will form a clot. Okay, along with the fibrin fibers, this will form a meshwork, and what will happen, it will close the broken blood vessel wall. So what happens, if it closes, the RBCs cannot go out, but will flow in the blood vessel. Now if the size keeps increasing and increasing, if it keep increasing, the RBCs cannot move out, so it will shear into this particular shape. Okay, that is your helmet shaped. So they are also known as helmet cells or schistocytes. Okay, This image you can see much better in the PPT that I have given. I don't have red color. There is some issue with my printing. You can see it in the PPT now. So I have just given another blood film where you can see fragmented cells. So you can see this ill-defined fragmented cells. You can see triangle cells. You can also see helmet cell. Helmet cells will have pointed ends. The triangle will have pointed ends. Whereas the fragmented cells, one point can be pointed and the rest can be irregular. Okay. Now coming to the symptoms. What are the symptoms? The symptoms over here, you will see what you see in anemia. So you will have fatigue, dizziness, you will have fainting, you will have BP which is low, you will have palpitations, you will have chest pain, you can have an enlarged spleen. Why enlarged spleen? Because so many cells, RBCs are deformed, so everything will have to go to the spleen. Once they go to the spleen gets overworked. Because it gets overworked, your spleen enlarges. Okay. Now in intestine, you can have changed color of the stool. Why you'll have? Because first is urobilinogen excreted in the urobilinogen, stercobilinogen excreted in the feces, and other things is you can have some amount of hemoglobin that has been excreted in them. So dark color feces can be seen. Or in case of jaundice, when you have a very yellowish, stool or greenish stool. You can have muscle weakness, you can have shortness of breath, and in jaundice, if you see, either you can have yellowish skin coloration or you can have this sclera which is yellow in color. So when you see jaundice, you have to see the face as well as you have to see the eyes. So what happens? A normal spleen is so small, but because of overwork the spleen increases. So this is known as massive splenomegaly. We had spoken about hemoglobinuria. So hemoglobinuria, you can see dark color urine. You see this is the normal urine. See, this is such a dark urine. So you can see the color, the change in color of the urine. Now coming to laboratory evaluation. We have to test the increased red blood cells which are broken down and the damages to the RBCs. So what we checked is serum bilirubin. Serum bilirubin, the unconjugated bilirubin is raised. In urine urobilinogen test when we do, which is raised, and there is no bilinuria. Bilirubinuria means there is no bilirubin, but urobilinogen is high. Fecal stercobilinogen is there. If you go back to the previous PPTs of hemolysis, there are multiple flow tests I've given for you to understand how it occurs. Then the plasma lactic acid dehydrogenase will increase because so many RBCs are getting broken down. Then evidence of intravascular hemolysis can be seen. You can see hemoglobinemia. In plasma, the hemoglobin has increased. Hemoglobinuria in urine, the hemoglobin is there. Methemoglobinemia is there. Hemosideриnuria is there. So methyl hemoglobin is also excreted in the blood plasma. Then hemosideриnuria means the heme portion of the hemoglobin is also excreted out in urine. Okay, so you'll see iron in urine. So we do few tests to see the damage of the RBCs. So we do a routine blood film. In routine blood film, you'll see the cystocytes. Osmotic fragility is increased or decreased. Then hemolysis test. An hemolysis test can be done with or without the addition of glucose. Okay. So after we do these tests and we come to know whether there is increased RBCs being broken down or the damage to the cells can also be evaluated. What is the treatment? Treatment lies specific to the underlying cause. Okay. So whatever discussion, the three topics we have discussed is external force. In external force, what you have to know? External force, if you stop doing the exercise, automatically, if you stop doing such harsh exercises, automatically your hemoglobins will start to recover. Okay. In cardiac hemolysis, what will happen? In cardiac hemolysis, because of the mechanical valve, all these things is happening. So what we can do is we can either remove the mechanical valve and put prosthetic artificial grafts. If you put artificial graft, what will happen? Your RBCs will not be under so much stress. Okay. Then fibrin deposit in microvasculature. This occurs because of hypertension, lot of multiple causes. Okay, I've given the list of multiple causes. If we treat all these causes, I'll just show it to you. See, if we treat all these causes, automatically your RBC destruction will be reduced. The damage to the RBC membrane will be reduced. Okay,